Hey everybody, welcome to Mammoth Interactive's YouTube channel. First of all, I want to thank you for watching this video. And remember that this channel doesn't do Patreon. Instead, we sell our digital courses down below. And every single dollar that we get from the products you buy below goes into making more content. The best way to help out this channel and Mammoth Interactive is to subscribe to Mammoth Interactive's huge library of content. Get thousands of hours and hundreds of courses for a low price down below. We have a monthly option and a yearly option. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the video.
Hello and welcome to our user interface and user experience in Adobe XD course. Do you want to know about wireframing your website or mobile app? Or maybe you want to know about prototyping? How about some micro interactions and how they can affect your product? Do you want to know more? We got you covered. Our aim is to give you a lot of various information to push your Adobe XD learning process. Wireframes, components, repeat grids, website fonts, working with type, all of the listed and many more can be found here. Every part of our course is a mix of tutorials where we will talk about various important topics in UI and UX design. Upon completion of this course, the learners will be able to work with the mobile apps and website wireframes and add interactivity to their products. Also, we will provide you with the basic information about creating a design for websites and mobile apps. And I hope I made you curious already. Please proceed to the next video to know more about the instructor. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another video. Please allow me to give you some of my own background. My name is Vladislav. I am a designer, and I will not point out any of the directions I was working with because I had to work with basically any 2D design task you can imagine. Well, I have some 3D experience as well, but that's not the point. So far, I have 2 years of experience, dozens of commercially successful projects, so I have some knowledge in my pocket to share with you. For me, being a designer does not mean creating a beautiful picture. It is more like building a project. You have to keep in mind a lot of variables. It is a middle between an artist and a tech specialist. And especially when we are talking about the UX aspects of the work. It requires a deep understanding of psychology and how the user behaves when he faces your work. And what I do like about working as a designer, if you have a task, you don't have only one single way to complete it. You just have a ton of opportunities to express yourself and to achieve your goal. I used to work a lot with Adobe XD in particular, because it is a very powerful tool for creating designs for different platforms. I got a couple of my first jobs done in this program, so I also have some warm feelings when it comes to working with it. We will talk about different kinds of jobs you might need to do in this program, and I'll do my best to help you in getting the job done in the best possible way. And here's what I have for you right now. In the next video, we will talk about why should you learn user interface and user experience in Adobe XD. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another video. Let's talk a bit about why should you learn user interface and user experience in Adobe XD. First of all, if you're here and watching this video, you already have some reasons or some ideas, and if you're still struggling to answer this question, please allow me to give you some details. The first and the foremost, you just need that if you plan on building a designer career, especially if you work with mobile apps design. Because there are a lot crucial guidelines that we have to follow, lots of them. And there's just no way for you not to learn it. Otherwise, your work simply will not be accepted by App Store or Google Play Store. And we are not even talking about the composition rules, psychology features that you have to be aware of to be a successful designer. If we are talking about working with this app in particular, This app, it just has a lot of pre-installed features that will make your designer's life easier. Quick guides, prototyping, components, repeat grids, and many more. Those are just essential time savers. Another thing I'd like to mention is the kind of opportunities this app gives you. It makes the communication between you as a designer and someone else as a client or a programmer a lot easier. Also, learning the UI, UX in Adobe XD with us will be a good start because we give you all the essential information which might be a good starting push for you. And in the next video, we will discuss the types of work we will do here. Maybe it will give you more for your brain to think about. Thank you for watching. Welcome back. Welcome back to another video. The topic of this video is quick win, example of what we will learn in this course. So let's talk about that for a bit. We will be talking a lot about prototyping, wireframing, different guidelines for different platforms, and in particular, we will learn about website wireframing and its prototyping. We also created an overlay menu for this website wireframe. We will also talk about micro interactions in some of the tutorials. For example, here, we created an animated image gallery with time-delayed transitions. Also, we will talk about the full vector change macro interaction, and for example here, we will make our emoji to change its expressions. We will work on different things that we will create from scratch, so we will discuss almost all the points in designing. And this is it for now. In the next video, I will tell you about what is UI, UX, and product designer. Thank you for watching. Welcome back. In this video, we will talk about UI, UX, and product designers. Let's try to find some common ground between them. I'll try to be novice-friendly and explain the difference between them using simple words. So, let's imagine our product as an organism. And let's start with the user interface designer. This is a fella that creates everything we see. He manages colors, shapes, sometimes content, fonts, the visual style, and so on. So in our product, the UI designer will be a skeleton and all the flesh and tissue possible. Next, we have a user experience designer. This specialist is being a nervous system. So he is responsible for how we perceive and how we operate with our product. He's completely focused on our particular product and he wants our product to behave well. But what if the product punches itself in the face with the left foot? The nervous system transfers such strange behavioral results to the brain, which is our product designer, and he can decide what we can do about that to fix that. The product designer manages everything in the product's body. He knows why and how to make our project to be well accepted by other organisms. He looks over the entire product, he manages roles, the user testing, and so on. So, as much as you can say so far, the common ground of all specialists we talked about here is all of them are interested in product creation and well-being. They are different level specialists, but they're connected by the same purpose. And before you ask, can UI, UX, and product designers be the same person? Yes, they can. So, this is pretty much it for this video. Please proceed to another tutorial where we will talk about the course requirements. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I will give you a quick recap of our requirements. The most important requirements are to have Adobe XD installed and the ability to watch videos. Preferably with sound, if you don't mind me joking from time to time. Yes, this is it. But being serious, we want you to have the latest Adobe XD version. And being honest, it doesn't even matter what hardware are you using to work with Adobe XD. Mac or PC, generally everything will be the same. I'm using PC, and the only difference here will be when I will ask you to push a Ctrl or an Alt key on the keyboard. For the Mac, it will be Command and Option keys, respectively. About the experience, we don't have any special experience requirements. It is good if you have some, it is okay if you don't have any. During the work, I will recap everything that I'm doing, so I will tell you what buttons I'm pressing to do one thing or another. And this is pretty much it. This is what I have for you for the initial part. In the next section, in our first section, we will talk about wireframing low fidelity. Thank you for watching. Hello and welcome to the wireframing section of our course. Let's talk a bit about the topics that we will discuss in this section. We will talk about wireframes in Adobe XD, what a surprise. I will tell you why you should create wireframes and how to do it properly. Also, we will discuss the acceptable width of your website or mobile app. And at the end of the part, we will get familiar with UI kits. So, this is it. Please proceed to another video where we will be talking about wireframing. Thanks for watching. Welcome back to another tutorial. Today I will tell you about wireframing in Adobe XD. In order to talk about it, we will discuss why do you even need to wireframe your website or mobile app, and I will show you some not guidelines but acceptable ways to display the objects in your wireframe. Alright, so the first thing to mention, why do you even wireframe your project? For me, wireframing serves two purposes. First, when I want my client to have an idea of how their website will look like, so as a result, if the client is not happy with a hierarchy, for example, or whatnot, it is easy for me to rebuild it until I apply a lot of settings to objects that I have to track. The second purpose is when I'm creating wireframes for myself. You can place your idea on the paper or in the project, create its chassis, and then and only then give it some love and details. It is good for experiments with fonts, object sizes, hierarchy, and so on without actually messing your final product. And I advise you to use wireframes, especially when you're a novice. It might take a bit more time working on a project, but as a result, you will get a high-end product. Alright, and now let's take a look at the program so I can show you some acceptable ways to display the content for your client, so everyone just knows what is what. First, let's create a rectangle. Let's make it gray. By the way, all the wireframes are created in monochromatic colors usually, or just in the same tone. The first type of content I want you to know about is a picture. Pictures are usually represented by rectangles that are being crossed by two diagonal lines. So as a result, it should look like this. The second type of content is videos. It's represented by the same rectangle, the only difference is a play button in the middle. Let's create a triangle and let's just flip it. For the text, we usually use lorem ipsum placeholder. It is a handy thing that we will discuss in our future tutorials. Okay. The next thing is the logo, which may be represented by a square because it is still a graphical object, or just a logo inscription if you have a text logo. And here's one note that I want to mention. If you will select your artboard, you can see this layout checkbox. And if it is on, you can start building your project hierarchy from the start, so you will not need to align it later. How do we tune this layout grid? We will discuss it in our future tutorials. Right now, let me just change its color here so it will not be that toxic. The benefit of working with a grid is that you can actually build some objects with a size that is appropriate for your grid because its anchor points magnet to the grid edges, which is awesome in my opinion. Let me duplicate some rectangles by dragging it while our Alt or Option key is pressed. This is actually a way that you can represent a list width. It is preferable if you will use it for yourself because the client might not get it. Remember that everything should be as clear as possible. For now, it doesn't look that good, and I admit that. We will build a decent wireframe in our future tutorials. Right now, please proceed to another tutorial where we will discuss how wide your website or mobile app should be. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another tutorial. In this video, I will tell you how wide your website or mobile app should be. And let's start from the beginning. Hit this home icon to see the starting window. Before we create a new project, we have to pick the right dimension for our canvas. And right here on the homepage, we may see the most popular dimensions. Everything is pretty easy with a mobile app designing because your dimension is based, if not on the type of device, but the iOS version, for example. So if you're creating an app for iPhone X, which is the most popular platform in mobile app design right now, you just pick the pre-made canvas, follow the guidelines and working inside of the safe zone, and you're golden. Here we can pick a canvas for whatnot task, but we are not interested in that right now. We also can specify some custom canvas size here for our needs. But here's the point. The biggest trouble that may happen to you is when you don't know what resolution you should pick for your website. The point is, the resolution of your website should be discussed with your customer. You have to know what is his target audience and what exact screen resolution it has. Because if you will make your website on the low resolution canvas, it might not look good on a big screen, and if you will make your website on the way too wide canvas, it will be not displayed correctly on the devices with smaller screens. What people usually do is clicking here on the 90-20 width because the biggest game changer is not the canvas size but the size of your layout grid. When our canvas is created, we can always change its size here by selecting it and dragging its corners. We notice the values here are changed as well, so that means we can set it to the ones we need. A couple of seconds ago I mentioned that the canvas size is not a crucial thing, but a layout grid is a crucial thing. So let's talk about it for a second. When our canvas is selected, we can turn on the layout grid, which is located right here, and we can change its settings a bit so it will not be so toxic. Alright, thank you. The point is, all the clickable and functional elements of your website should be inside of the layout grid. And how wide it should be? It actually depends on our user's screen resolution. It will be ideal if you will make it suitable for most of the screen types. A little pause. Here I have a little note for you. I'm recording this piece of the tutorial a bit later because I found out I forgot to mention one thing. In case you just don't know anything about preferred screen sizes, the width of your working zone should be 1170 pixels. If you don't have any other idea how wide your website should be, this is probably your best shot. Yes, it is a bit old standard, but still it is suitable if not for all the PC screens, but almost for all of them. Remember that the layout grid represents the area of your website that will be displayed on screens, and you want every functional element to fit that grid. And again, not outside, not partly outside, inside only. Alright, thank you for your attention. Let me show you some examples so you can understand why the layout size should be smaller than the canvas size. Alright, so first, let's make only one column layout grid, and let's make it with 1366 pixels. And now let's make our canvas 1366 pixels wide. And of course I can't foresee that the layout size will change as well, so let's set it to 1366 again. So as a result, we can see something like this. Our website layout will perfectly fit the size of your screen, but the problem here is a fact that the website will look heavy and oversaturated on your screen. Also, the user and your program engineer will have a lot of problems with pagination because there is just no room for it. So this is a reason why basically every website you visit has margins with no content in it. It is good for the composition and it is good for the user interaction. Alright, the next thing I want to mention is directly related to your layout width. It is a feature that you always have to keep in mind if you know them. Let's say target audience screen size. If we will make our canvas taller, we will see this dotted line. This line called a viewpoint. A viewpoint represents the height of content that will be visible on the user's screen. It is a kind of a guide you need to follow to fit the content properly, so the user will not see any inconsistency between content containers. So as a result, if we know our user screen size is 1440 pixels wide, the viewpoint should not be bigger than 900 pixels. If it is 1366, it shouldn't be taller than 768 pixels. And if it is 1280 pixels wide, it shouldn't be bigger than 720 pixels. I am telling you not bigger because this is a full screen resolution for those types of screen. Of course, it's usually smaller because of the browser frame, Windows frame, and you need to find out a viewpoint value for different screens by yourself. I just tried to answer some questions that are not asked yet and tell you about this feature. And this is what I have for you right now. Come back next time where we will talk about UI kits. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another tutorial. The topic of this video is UI kits. I will tell you why do you use them and how to get some up-to-date kits quick on Mac and PC. Alright, today we will work with an iPhone X artboard just because I want to work with a mobile UI kit. So a UI kit is basically a set of official samples of UI elements such as buttons, some icons, screens, panels, and so on. You may and you want to use it if you want to follow guidelines or just build a solid wireframe for your app or website. So to get an XD file with UI kits, you have to press on this burger icon, go for the Get UI Kits, and here you have to choose what kind of a UI kit you want to acquire. Let's click on the Apple iOS option. This action will run your browser and will open a human interface guidelines page where you just have to scroll down to see download options. Here we have two iOS UI kits versions to choose from, and I insist you pick the stable version for your design unless you want to check what's new in the new iOS version. Because as much as you can see, it was updated not too long ago, and it is always a risk of being not actual. When you have chosen the required option, just click the download button, and here's a huge difference between PC and Mac platforms. For a known reason, Apple decided to pack these files in an archive that can be opened on Mac freely, but if you will try to open it on PC, you will see this. Yeah, that's a bummer, but there is a workaround. Locate the downloaded file and open it using the archiver you want. I will use a 7-zip, and here we go. Here we go for this folder, and we just have to unpack it to get everything we need. If we will go through these folders, we can see a lot of XD files with a lot of kits, and if you don't mind, we will focus only on one of those due to time saving. Open any file you need and wait for it to load. Yeah, it might take a while because there are a lot of elements in that document, so it might take some time. And here we go. In the panel on our left, we can see all the assets used in these files, such as colors, character styles, and so on. Let's close it for now. Switch to the Layers panel to see what kind of artboards we see here. Select any artboard you are interested in and press Ctrl or Command 3 to focus on it. This particular artboard represents safe zones, which helps you to find an appropriate way to place your content on the mobile page. Let's take a look at different artboards to see what else do we have here. As I mentioned before, we may find basically anything we want to build a chassis for our app. This is a kind of artboard you may find to be useful when you are building a modal window or pop-up with actions. And the best thing about UI kits, you can actually copy it to your project. Just right-click on it and choose a copy option, or just press Ctrl or Command C to copy it. And if we go back to our project and press Ctrl V or just right-click and paste it, we will see it perfectly fits our canvas. And now we can just change it in the way we want. We can change its color, we can change its text. Just remember to follow the guidelines. And let's, for example, change the bottom. Let's select it. Let's change its fill. And let's change the text. Here we go. And again, just remember to follow the guidelines. Follow your app color pattern, don't make it toxic, and so on. Using the UI kits will always help you to build an awesome project, so I highly recommend you using them. The last thing to mention, those UI kits I will use in our future tutorials or you will see in our courses are official and free. But remember, you can always find or buy different UI kits elsewhere. So, this is it for this tutorial and for this chapter. Please proceed to the next part to know more about working with type, color, and icons in Adobe XD. Thank you for watching. Welcome to another section of our course. Please allow me to tell you about the main topics we will discuss here. In this part, we will work with type in Adobe XD. We will discuss some colors and buttons essentials, and also we will build a wireframe for 2 pages, a home page and a contacts page. I have a lot to tell you about in this section, so stay focused. Next time I want to tell you about working with type in Adobe XD. Thanks for watching. Welcome back to another tutorial. Today I will tell you how to work with type in Adobe XD. In order to talk about it, we will look closely at the type tool. I will try to share some common text layout guidelines with you, and we will create a card with the text just to anchor our knowledge. And before we start, I want you to pay attention to the text layout guidelines. You might get access to our previous Photoshop tutorials where we were talking about that topic in depth. It is just a super important thing to learn if you want to be a designer, and I wanted to pay some attention to it. Alright, enough talking, let's go back to the tutorial. Our text tool is located here on the tool panel, and it can be accessed by clicking on it or by pressing the T button on your keyboard. If you will click and drag your mouse, you will create a paragraph text, which will be held by a frame and will automatically hyphenate to another line when it will reach its border. You will need it in case you're creating a body text or just a massive text object like paragraphs, quotes, and so on. If you will just click anywhere, you will create a point text object. It is a single line text object which is not limited by its width unless you will carry over the text to another line manually. It is suitable for titles, menu entries, and so on. Alrighty, now let's just talk about some text settings. Here you can change your font, here you can change our font style, and let's for example make it bold. Here we go. Here we can change its size. Let's place it in the middle. Oh, and by the way, if you want your text to be centered to the middle of your canvas, you just need to select your text and press these two buttons. So, as a result, your text will be perfectly aligned to the very middle of your canvas. Here is a character interval option. We can change it if we feel like our text is too heavy or vice versa, too light. Line spacing, which is, by the way, pretty good right now. This value should be a multiplication between your text size and a coefficient from 1.3 to 1.5. This is actually the recipe to get the right value here, so your text will be easily readable. And a paragraph spacing that no one actually uses. This option will allow you to align your paragraph text to the left or right or to the center of your frame. Right now we have a point text, so it does nothing to it. So let's do the same actions but with paragraph text. And now we can see the difference. Oh, and by the way, here's a little note. If you want to apply any changes to your text, be sure to select everything or just a text frame to change everything at once. If you see the cursor, that means all the changes will be applied only to the text that's about to be typed. So as a result, if I will change the font size and will start typing right now, we will see what I mean. Alrighty. Okay, these are buttons that will make your text all uppercase, all lowercase. Will make every word start from an uppercase, super and subscript, underline, strike through. Really simple. Let's just not stick with it. Let's make it regular. Okay, so let's go a bit further. And here we see the appearance options. Opacity. It is simple. The lower is opacity, the less visible our text becomes. The only note, you can change it quickly if you press numbers on your keyboard. Press them quickly to get the exact value. 55, 11, 44, as you wish. Blending modes. That's the option you won't use with the text, but it stands for the way pixels will be blended between your object and its background. Alright, now let's work with the text on the particular example. Let's say I have this card wireframe and I want to fill it with a sample text. Let's quickly create a card basis. The card will look like a rectangle with a picture, some text, and also a call to action button. Just remember to mark what is what. The image is a crossed rectangle, a call to action will be just a CTA button. Here is our text sample. Yeah, it looks ugly, but I will show you how to create a decent text placeholder, but this is a topic for another tutorial. Please notice that I'm using a paragraph text right now. Let's align it to the middle. Now let's select our rectangle. Press Ctrl D to duplicate it, and let's create a button. It is kinda invisible now because it has the same color, but we can see its frame, so that means this is a standalone object. Hold the Alt or Option key and drag your object to duplicate it. Let's just change its size a bit and let's change the color of our button. Here we go. I will not be original, I will just call it a CTA button. And here's a little note. If we will select two elements and press these buttons, we will align them perfectly to each other. Also remember to group your objects when everything is pretty much aligned, so it will be easier for you to work with it later. I'm doing it by selecting all the objects and pressing the Ctrl-G combination, so as a result, on click and drag I can move the whole button but not just its shape. So again, select everything you need and press Ctrl or Command-G combination, and let's call this group a CTA button. Alright, I wanted to place all the elements first, and now I can quickly explain to you what kind of spacing you should stick to. So, according to the rule of proximity, which I highly recommend you to read about, we subconsciously group the objects according to the distance between them. It is obvious that the objects that are close to each other visually are considered as a group of objects, so as a result, we need to build a little hierarchy on our card, so everything looks grouped but not stuck together or just torn apart. For this job, I'm using quick guides that might be used by holding an Alt or Option button when your object is selected. You just need to hover your mouse over neighbor objects to see the distance between them. It will help us to stick to another rule, the rule of proximity, or the rule of inner and outer, or internal and external, how some call it. It is a basic typographic principle. According to that rule, we need to place our text in a way it will not conflict with the frame, which is a card background in our case. And by conflict, I mean the text almost touching the frame border, or vice versa, it is too far away from it, so as a result, we can keep our composition well. In the end, our title and our text should be closer to each other than to the borders of our card, or to another object in our card. Like this. It is always better if you keep the whole hierarchy spacing multiple to some exact value, for example, 10 pixels, so it will be easier to decide how far your objects should be from each other. And this is pretty much it. For this tutorial. Come back next time, where we will talk about basic colors and buttons in Adobe XD wireframes. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another tutorial. In this video we will talk about the colors that we use for prototyping. I will tell you how your colors may influence your wireframe impression. We will talk about what color is suitable for different objects to display the hierarchy of elements. Also, we will talk about buttons for a bit, and I will show you how to work with them. Alright, so first let's go and get some assets from the Web UI kit. So what we have to do? We need to press here on this burger icon, get UI kits, and choose the wireframe option. This action will open a Behance page with various wireframes. Now we just need to press this download kits button, and as a result we will get a simple zip archive with mobile and with web versions of wireframes. You just need to unpack it anywhere you want, and I already did this. And here is the file we need for this tutorial. Now let's just open it. When it is opened, we will see this, and this is just an awesome starter wireframe. We can find a lot of assets to work with here, but we are interested in only one particular asset. We just need a header for our project, and locate the element you want, click on it and press a Ctrl or Command-3 combination to focus on it. Now let's just copy it and transfer it to our project. And we already know how to do that. We just need to press Ctrl-C or Command-C, or just right-click and choose a copy option. Then just let's go back to our project and press a Ctrl or Command-V combination to paste it. Alrighty. If we will pay attention, we can see this is not a regular object. It is held by a green frame, and what that means? That actually means that our object or our group of objects is a component. This is something to talk about in our future tutorials, but for now let's just keep it like that. And let's first unlink this component so we will have a regular group. Right-click on your group and press Unlink Component option. Alright, we also want our header to go through all of our canvas, so to do that we can just double-click on the background object. In our case it is this rectangle. We can see it is already selected in our group, and we can just drag its anchor points until it reaches the limit of our canvas. Or that is actually what I wouldn't do, but we can just change our canvas to match our header. Yeah, you can just double click on its border, just click on its name, and then just change its size to 1440, I believe. Yes, that's right. The header should follow your wireframe guidelines. This is not correct to match a canvas to your header though. Sometimes I'm just playing with the program, so you can learn how to change everything quickly. Alright? So let's talk about colors you should use while wireframing a website. The point here is you better use one single color for your wireframes. And by one color, I actually mean different shades of one color. In our case, it is blue, and we can just pick different shades of this color here for our theme, and we can just save them and follow them later, so they're quickly accessible on this little panel. But what people usually do is wireframing with monochromatic colors such as white, black, and different shades of gray. But it is not strict what color you will actually use, just keep everything accurate and not toxic. Alright, let's talk a bit about buttons. Let's recreate this exact button. And while I'll be doing that, let's talk about how your buttons should look like. The point is, you have to give your button a shape now, and overall, you better give your wireframe a character beforehand, so you can use calm colors and rounded buttons, for example, to give your wireframe a calm mood. So right now, let's pick a rectangle tool. And let's create a rectangle. First step is simple. Now we just need to pay attention to this anchor point and drag it to the point we are happy with. We can actually change its value here. And now it's a bit too much. We can change the width of our outline here. So 2 pixels should be enough. And about the size of your button. It really depends on 2 things. The first one is your overall wireframe pattern. And I mean spacing between elements, size of the elements. You better keep it multiple of something like 20 pixels, for example. So as a result, your button might be 40 pixels tall and 100 pixels wide. It also depends on the text you want to put in. How large it will be, how thick it will be. Just remember to stick with the rule of proximity. Give your text some air to breathe. Also important note, your text shouldn't be bolder than your button outline. So right now we want it to be semi-bold to keep our hierarchy. Also we have a little trick here that is similar to the one I showed you before. Select both objects and press these buttons to align them perfectly to each other. Awesome. Also, you might want to group your objects, just to keep everything clean in your Layers tab. We can just use Ctrl or Command G combination when our objects are selected, or we can just select them here and right-click to choose the group option. So let's align our button to the very middle of our canvas by selecting it and pressing these buttons, and as we can see, it did an awesome job, as usual. I'd like to talk about the wireframe's colors a bit more. Before I do that, please don't punch me for having my personal opinion. But what I usually do is thinking about core elements in my wireframe. Those elements should have the most saturated colors, and by core elements I mean headers, footers, titles, and buttons. You can give them more optical weight by giving them more saturated colors, so that means we can actually build a hierarchy before we even have the content. You can also give the saturated colors to elements you want your client to pay attention to, because the more optical weight your element has, the more important it looks. And the last note for this tutorial: you better keep different shade of color for different types of elements. So for the footers or for the headers, we have one shade of color. For buttons, another. For text, the third one, and so on. But just try to keep everything as simple as possible, because we want to prevent our client from having a cognitive overload. And this is it for this tutorial. Please proceed to the next tutorial, where we will talk about how to make a gradient in Adobe XD. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another tutorial. In this video we will talk about gradients in Adobe XD and how to make them. And before we start, here is a little note for you. You don't have to have a lot of colors in your gradient to create a wow effect. But if you have to have a lot of colors, please use color schemes to match them. Alright, so we will work with our canvas, but keep in mind that all I show you right now is applicable for every object you may work with. Alright, so to create a gradient, we need to select our object. In our case, it is our canvas, and we have to go to Fill options. Click the drop-down menu and choose the gradient you want. We can choose between the linear and radial gradients. Let's go through them real quick. By default, the linear gradient is a transition between two colors that are represented by two anchor points that we can interact with. If you will choose one point, you can change its color in the Fill options window. So let's just set it to peach and cyan, kind of. Alright, so if we will click and drag our points, we can change the angle of our gradient like this. Also, we can always click on the gradient line to add another point. We can interact with it in the same way. We can do basically all the same things with it. We can change its color, we can move it. So everything is pretty simple. Actually, we can add as many points as we want, and we can actually play with them to get the result we want. Okay, let's reverse our changes by pressing Ctrl or Command Z combination, so I can show you something else. We can drag our points towards each other if we want some color to be dominant on our gradient. Also, we can add the point to the middle of our gradient, so it will help us to make the result subtle. We can drag it around so we can have more control over our gradient. And also, we can change the opacity of any point we want, so as a result, we can leave some transparent areas in our gradient. Okay, now let's talk about the radial gradient. And to be honest, it is pretty much the same. The effect is different, but the way to control it, it is literally the same. Drag the anchor points to get the result you want, and please let me change its color so it will not look that dirty. The only big difference here is that we have another anchor point that can help us to tune the radial gradient diameter. Everything else is pretty similar and simple. Play with it, add more anchor points, control it the way you want, change the color of anchor points to the one you need, and yeah, this is pretty much the same about the radial gradients. Right now I want to create a button with you, so we can have a clear example of a good gradient. Let's create a rectangle first. Let's tune its size a bit. And pay attention to how resizing works when you use the Shift or Alt buttons when you do that. Okay? And now let's just place a simple linear gradient on it. And let's just drag our points to opposite corners of our rectangle. I will not take a lot of your time playing with colors, just let me mention this. Your colors should be almost the same, so you might just want to have the primary color and a deeper version of it. Alright, the colors are set, so let's add a simple shadow to our button, so it will stand out a bit on our white background. The shadow should be almost subtle, so we can have an accurate and clean result. So right now let's just place some call to action text in our button to see how it will look like. Let's make it a bit bigger. Let's place it in the middle. Quick guides will help us to do so. And let's tune our button size to see how it will look like. Accurate. And I have one little note for you, and it's about colors. So you see, the most saturated color should always be in the bottom of your object because it has the bigger optical weight, and to prevent our composition from breaking, we better keep it there. So this is what I wanted to tell you in this tutorial. Come back next time to hear me talking about where to find some free icons for your project. Thank you for watching. Welcome back to another tutorial. In this video, I want to tell you how to get some free icons for your projects. In order to talk about that, I will show you a couple of ways to get some free icons. Okay, alright, so the first source of free icons is UIKits. It is not quite the best source of free icons and there is no diversity, but for sure, you can find some icons for your wireframes there. You can find some accurate and simple icons there in Wireframe. Or we can pay attention to some icons in our iOS UI kit. So we already see some good examples of icons we can get. Like this little profile icon, for example. You can always transfer such icons to your projects. Just simply copy and paste that. Also, I'm pretty sure there are plugins that may let you find more icons, but I'm not sure if I have any particular examples on my mind right now. So let's consider it as your homework. Alright, so let's go for the next source. Let's transfer it here so it will not bother us. The next source of free icons is pixabay.com. You may see us always using this website for searching for assets for our tutorials. And yes, it is not only about photos. So for example, if we will search for the dog icon here, we just need to change the type of the results to vector graphics. Excuse me, that was the wrong drop-down menu. And here is it. Nice and accurate icon. But the only thing to mention, if you want to download it, you have to click this button first and then just pick vector graphics as an option. Alright, let's go for the next source. The next source of free icons is flaticon.com. But here is one but. This website has free and paid icons. Right now I've chosen the free icon and we can tell for sure it is free to use. It is free for commercial use, but with attribution. If you pay some money for the website, no attribution is required, but we are talking about free ways to get icons. Alright, let's move on. The next way to get some icons is to ask a material.io website to help us. This is a website about Android design guidelines, so you might find something interesting for you here, but right now we are interested in this link that will take us to the point where we can get some free icons. And we can see there are a lot of them. Let's, for example, choose this heart. Yeah, why not? Let's download it. And by the way, let me tell you the difference between the SVG format and a PNG format. You are always interested in SVG format, and I will not go in depth of this topic, but let me just show you some examples. We can see this heart is pretty small and we can enlarge it the way we want. And if we enlarge it even more, we see no pixels at all. And even more, we can scale it as much as we want without any fear to lose its quality. Okay, let's change its color so we will see the difference with a PNG object instantly. Now we just need to go to that website and download a PNG object. And when we drop that PNG object to our project and enlarge it, just to see how it looks like, we already see a huge difference. It became super pixelated, and even more. You will have some problems with changing its color in Adobe XD at least. So what can I say? The vector object is your best choice. So this is what I have for you right now. Come back next time, where we will talk about how to add footers to your XD wireframe. Thank you for watching.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this course. If you want to watch the rest of the course, the link is down below. Not only will you get the access to this course, but you'll get access to a lot of other courses in a huge bundle, and it's on sale today. So buy before the sale ends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.